Watch today. By cars, boats and mail delivery trucks. Tobacco trafficking routes, formation and directions. From Asian green to Kiev stone jungles, illegal immigrants from Bangladesh were detained in the Kiev Solomenka. Is it easy for a vehicle to be confiscated at the border? Useful tips to smart drivers. For years, cigarettes are at the top of the Ukrainian smuggling rating. According to a reputable auditing company, 3,000 packs of cigarettes are illegally exported every hour from Ukraine and over 6 billion are exported annually. Almost every second smuggler, regardless of citizenship, prefers to transport them. For example, a Belarus resident was recently detained at the Domonova checkpoint. The man was sure that he would not be detained because he hid the product securely. But border guards with customs officers quickly found his cash. Its content was valued at 63,000 hryvnias. And this brave man could not even reach the border. The Ukrainian citizen had a large batch of contraband tobacco, which he later had to smuggle into Poland. Law enforcement stopped him in Kovel. The driver did not allow the inspection of his vehicle. Suspicious? However, his transport was searched and 20,000 packs of fake cigarettes worth 0.5 million hryvnias were found. There are other schemes on the line of demarcation with occupied Donbass. Local smugglers prefer river transport and postal services. 2 channels of cigarette smuggling from Russian-backed territories were found by border guards jointly with SBU officers. The counterfeits manufactured in Donetsk were transported from the town of Kurakhove all over Ukraine and even exported abroad. A private postal company was involved in distribution. If you ask how the goods crossed the demarcation line, the answer is by water. Contraband boats ran along the Kalmius River. Obviously, it was on a regular basis because Ukrainian internet resources are full of proposals from pseudo-republic manufacturers. As a result of the special operation, 120 boxes of tobacco products worth more than 1.5 million hryvnias were seized. What do we know about Bangladesh? Probably very little. We're aware of Bengali tigers that live there and of disappearing famous mangrove forests. Tourists avoid this South Asian country. And there are many reasons for this. Surrounded on 3 sides by the warm Indian Ocean, Bangladesh has fertile soils in the Ganges Delta, exotic jungles, and a mild, humid climate. However, unfortunately, this has no impact on the well-being of the local population. For decades, the republic has remained one of the poorest countries in the world. Permanent military coups almost completely destroyed its economy. So misery, disease, and crime are commonplace there. And Bangladesh is one of the most populous countries in the world, almost 180 million people. Wow, isn't it too much for such a small area? For example, in the suburbs of its capital Dhaka, there are up to 10,000 people in 1 square kilometer. That's why the poor leave this paradise in 2 ways: legal and illegal human trafficking. Ukraine is one of the transit countries to the EU and quite popular, as proven by statistics. Since the beginning of this year, border guards have detained more than 100 illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. The last group was detained in recent days. These 5 foreigners lived in rented apartments in the Solomensky district of Kiev. They were visited by border guards jointly with police involved in the Operation Migrant. All detainees came from Bangladesh, but only 2 of them came legally. They gave shelter to their illegal countrymen. It is interesting that one of the detainees 2 years ago was held liable for violation of the rules of stay in Ukraine. He ignored the court's decision to voluntarily return home Instead, he tried to set up a channel for transporting his countrymen to EU countries. Now the man will testify in court, and perhaps the return to his home country would be the best option for him. Many people perform this simple ritual several times a day, opening the door, sitting down, closing it, and leaving. Have you ever wondered how many designers and engineers work on perfecting car doors? This is to safeguard passengers, to protect car from burglars and provide comfort. Under car upholstery, there is noise insulation and a metal frame with cavities to make construction easier. But the owner of this minibus decided this was too fancy for him, because a real iron horse should be solid. And to fill its every gap with what? With reliable gadgets. The driver who crossed the Krakovets checkpoint proved to be an ardent man of a well-known Chinese brand. Law enforcers found 60 cheap smartphones inside his vehicle's upholstery. They were seized together with the vehicle. Unfortunately, modifying the design of the car door automatically turns it into a means of smuggling, and such a vehicle is subject to confiscation. Watch next: Migrants versus Natives. Why are Ukrainian crabs worse than Chinese? They're good, but gray. How smugglers help fans of low-costers. Over the last decades, globalization is steadily progressing, washing away borders and destroying traditions. Do you think this only includes people? You're wrong. Fauna is gradually being a part of this process. For example, these moss crabs from the Chinese coast are encroaching on the Ukrainian territorial waters, and they sidle. Ecologists are alarmed. It turned out that these immigrants from China pose a serious threat to our bodies of water. With no natural enemies, the aggressive aliens feed on local fish, caviar, and even their closest relatives. From now, the Black Sea's living resources are taking a double blow. Local poachers compete with predatory races. Therefore, the Green Berets have to not only patrol the sea but also rescue their inhabitants. And here's an hour of reckoning. 250 crabs were released from the tenets on the Jarl Island. A border guard did this cleverly, and sure, after all, he and his colleagues have to do this quite often. Only a week earlier, they had released over 300 crabs near the same island of Jarl. This time, the catch could cause damage to the state in the amount of 770,000 hryvnias. There's no need to speak of damages to the ecosystem, because 54 illegal fish nets were pulled out. In total, since the beginning of the year, border guards have pulled 29 kilometers of nets out from the sea. All traps were successfully destroyed. We all know about the pre-vacation mood, travel plans, dreams of the sea, new countries. This excites us, but what is a trip without a high-quality suitcase? It's like traveling without a passport. In times of low-cost airlines, a small, durable, and inexpensive suitcase is a great find. The whole world is in front of you, but kind and fair people are everywhere. Volhynian entrepreneurs decided to provide Ukrainians with this important accessory. A noble aim, you might say, but it's not as easy as you might think. These two cars with new suitcases from Poland crossed the Yahodin checkpoint. They look good, but they are gray, and it's not about color. The goods were transported under an illegal scheme. A special mobile group of border guards and customs officers detained violators to counteract so-called hidden imports. It turned out that the difference between the claimed and actual product was not within their budget. The tricksters tried to secretly import into Ukraine 640 suitcases, not claimed them in the documents. According to experts, their value is more than 500,000 hryvnias.